What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar with C-Zar Gets Crypto, and we are talking about Bitcoin today. It is a new month. I am on the all-time history chart. If we type in BTCUSD and go to the index, this is the all-time history. And we're going to check out every September and just kind of compare it to what we could expect for this month. A lot of people are calling for September to be a red month. I don't know if it's going to be. I think we do see some red side. I definitely do think we see some red side, but I don't know if it's going to be as bad as people are expecting it to be. Maybe it gets bad at some point, and then we come back up and have a somewhat neutral close or even a green close. I would expect that we see some downside to start this month, but potentially we will see some upside to end it. Or maybe it'll be a complete shitfest, but we'll see. We're just going to compare it to other months and just go do that. Before I do, I want to say that my last video on the 4-hour time frame here, my last video for Bitcoin, I did make it on this candle here, right here, and I said if we can close above this purple line, we would likely make a new high, at least on a closing basis, maybe even get up toward 29K. That would be my expectation. We could form some bullish or bearish divergence. We did have a little bounce off of this overbought zone, and that's why my expectation was that, because normally you get that, and bouncing off this purple line, normally you would get a continuation up, but the very following candle we actually closed below it and we continue to move down. I did say if we get below this line, we likely would make a move back down to where we found resistance here, or maybe even down to where we found support, which we actually did do that. But my overall initial expectation was we were going to form a slightly higher high, have some bearish divergence before moving down, but no, we just absolutely moved down. So what a hell of a way to close the month. If we look at the month here, I mean, you can just see very bearish looking close. Anyways, with that out of the way, I want to get into the overall month-to-month stuff, and I want to go all the way back to the beginning. So here you can see this was September in 2010. We actually don't have a September. September 2009 existed, but not on this chart. And this is the all-time history index. So right here, September, it was a September 2010, and it was actually a green month. It says it's red, but if you look at the percentage over here, it's actually plus 3%. And this happens because of gaps. Sometimes you open the month high and then you close it below that open, but you know where you opened it was above where you closed the previous month. So you still did, even if you close below where you opened for this month, you're still closing below the close of this month, ergo you have a positive month. I don't know if that makes sense, but that should make sense. So I'm going to do this in a couple ways. I want to monitor red to green, so we're going to go like 1 red to 2 greens to 3 greens to 1 red, or yeah, you know, whatever, 4 reds to 3 greens. I don't know. We're going to do that. We're also going to pay attention to the neutral months. How many Septembers were neutral? Because I feel like a good bit of them are, actually, which nobody talks about. They talk about it being green or red, but it's like, could it be neutral? I think neutral is definitely, we're going to count this as green, but it's also neutral. Okay, so I'm going to do my best to kind of keep track of this. Bear with me here. So this is 1 green month. Even though it's a red candle, it's 1 green month, and it's a neutral month, okay? 1 green to 0 reds, 2010. 2011 here, we have a red month. That's not neutral at all. It's negative 37%, so we got 1 green to 1 red. 2012, we have another green, definitely not neutral, so 2 greens to 1 red, only 1 neutral month. 2 greens, 1 red. 2013, we have another green month, neutral. 3 greens to 1 red and 2 neutral months. 3 greens to 1 red, 2 neutral months. About half the time so far, neutrality. September 2014, definitely not neutral, negative 19. That is a red month, so we have 3 greens to 2 reds. 3 greens to 2 reds. 2015, we go to 2015, another green month, so that would be 4 greens to 2 reds, and a neutral month. So that's about 3 neutral months, 3 non-neutral months, still about half there. 4 to 2, greens winning. 2016, we go in and we have another green month. 6% to the upside. I would say that that's neutral still. So 5 green months to 2 red months. 5 green months to 2 red months for September. 2017. And that would be 4 neutral months, right? 2017, below 10%. I'd still say that's somewhat neutral, but you have 5 green months now to 3 red months, and I would say that that is your 5th neutral month. I'm going to count that. Anything under under 10% for Bitcoin, I would say is neutral. That's my opinion. You can change that if you want, but for Bitcoin to not even close 10% in any direction, I think that's fair to say that that's neutral for Bitcoin. Volatile, yes, but neutral. 5 greens, 3 reds, 5 neutral months so far by the way that I'm going off of it. Another red month here, -6%, and another neutral month. So we have 4 reds, 5 greens, and that would be 6 neutral months. Here we've got another red month, -13%, so no longer neutral, but that's still 6 neutral months, 5 greens, 5 reds. Okay, so it's an even split now as of 2019, right? Go to 2020 here. We have another red month, so that's 6 red months below 10%. I'm going to say it's a neutral month, so 6 red months to 5 green months, 7 neutral months. 7 neutral months. 2020 here, we are, wait, did I pass it? Oh, that was 2000, so it's 2021. Another red month, so that's 7 red months to 8 neutral months, and then 5 green months. 7 to 5 red versus green, but 8 neutral months. Okay. Here in 2022, our last one, another neutral month, 9 neutral months, but technically 8 red months, 5 green months. Okay. And then here we are, 2023. So we've got a total of, let's just do it here, 8 red months and 5 green months. That's a horrible looking 5, man. I don't know what's wrong with me. There we go. That's somewhat of a 5. And then we had 9 neutral months from 2010 all the way to 2023. So, I mean, 5 plus 8, that right there is 13. 2010 to 2023, that's 13, right? Including 2010. So 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, that's 13. We are in our 14th one right now. 9 of them were neutral. The majority of them were neutral. And a lot of people talk about how bad September was. And how historically they've predominantly been more red. But really they haven't. 8 to 5, that's really not that much. If this ends up being a green month, that number changes to 8 to 6. And that's not that big of a disparity. Even 9 to 5 isn't that big of a disparity. We all work 9 to 5s. No, but what I'm trying to say is that most of it, really what was happening is that most of the time we had moves that weren't even greater than 10% either way, up or down. This wasn't just for the red months, this was for the green months too. But September seems to be a very neutral month. Even if it has exciting price action, we tend to close back near the open. And that, in my opinion, that is 9 neutral months versus 4 non-neutral months, right? 9 to 4, and you got your 5 to 8 here, red versus green. Here, we're gonna change this. We're gonna make these colors kind of match up. Green here to red, and then 9 white can be neutral. 4, we'll make this like orange for its non-neutrality. We'll make it vibrant. No, that's too close to red, so orange it is. You know, and really, you know, this is a lot closer together than this is. This is double what we've seen. So really, I think what's going on with September is we have a somewhat neutral month on a closing basis. And, you know, I feel like I've said that already. I'm not going to keep saying it, but just keep that in mind, you guys, as we go into this analysis. We just did some very basic stuff. All we did was measure through, keeping a score basically on September's, but now let's actually get into the TA. So I wanted to do that. Let's leave this, we can leave this over here so I don't forget 5 to 8, because that was a pain in the butt to kind of stay focused for. Let's see, 5 to 8, 9 to 4, sure. All right, now we're going to get into the shorter term time frames of this thing. So looking at this thing, again, I was somewhat bullish in the short term, but if you guys have been following the channel for a while, you know that I've been calling for lower lows than this throughout this whole thing. I'm actually going to go to the BTC USD on Coinbase chart here. You know that I've been calling for lower lows than this the whole time. Even if we went up a little bit higher, I thought it was just going to be a means to an end. I don't think that we're done going lower yet. I do think that what we're going to do is go somewhere, and I have these lines drawn up here, somewhere between this area and this area. And actually, for a while now, for the past couple weeks, I've been talking about this area where we had closing highs here and closing highs here around 24.3K. That's the area I've been talking about. But looking at the monthly gave me a new perspective. There's another line I think to take into consideration, and it's right here where these closing highs are, as well as this closing high. It's right around like 23.3 to 23.15K. And if I get this back on there, you can see that as well as with the fib, it's below the 382, it's above the 0.5, it's kind of right in the middle of the range. But making moves below the 382, coming back up and closing at it or above it, that happens often. That definitely does happen often, especially in up moves if you're coming down, or down moves if you're coming up into it. But beyond the fib, looking at this on a monthly, I put that line there, the bottom line, where we have like monthly closes right here. So at like 23.1K, and then on a weekly basis, I put it here at the closing highs where we have 24.3K. So I would like to say that I think that we will find our low, our next low, as I've been saying, below this low, but above this low, but more likely somewhere in this range. A lot of people are calling for Bitcoin price to move down to about 22K, 20K, 18K, stuff like that. Some people are still calling for new lows and that the bear market's not over. I don't expect any of that. In fact, I think a lot of people would be eager to buy prices that low, and that's why I don't think it's going to happen. I do think there's a lot of eagerness in crypto. If we look at the crypto fear and greed index, actually, we're feeling some fear now. we're feeling some fear now, but we went from 39. Okay, we went from a 39 last week to yesterday we were at a 52. We jumped up like 12 points, like literally, or actually 13 points in a very short amount of time, and it was all because of one day. It was all because of this day right here. And people, we went from being fearful down here to being neutral, and even a little bit over neutral on a lower high, in a downtrend. And now people, we're fearful now. We are at the 40, but we're still higher than we were last week. And where are we? We're higher by 1 point. But we had this big drop, and we actually had a closing low that was lower than anything we've seen last week. Why are we not more fearful? Because a lot of people are anticipating that Bitcoin is in a bull run, that it's in a bull market, and they should be. Look at this beautiful uptrend we have. Even though this low might get taken out, we have higher lows and higher highs right now. Even if you came all the way down here, you still have overall kind of higher lows and higher highs. This is like an ascending structure. You can see it. I'll take away the lines to make it easier, but you can see it, and I do think a lot of people are eager to buy Bitcoin whenever it drops. And generally what happens whenever you have a lot of people look at an area, which a lot of people are looking at the area between 18 to 22K, specifically 20K, right where this white line is. When you have a lot of people look at that area, one of two things happens. Either you shoot through it or you don't reach it. And I'm leaning toward the idea that we don't reach it, because a lot of people too, what they're calling for September is September to be a bloodbath. And we just did the math, you guys. We didn't do the math. We just did some scorekeeping. Okay, Bitcoin has not had bloodbaths in September. It's had like 2 bloodbaths in September, and the lowest that it went was like 37%. Okay, not to say 37% wouldn't be dramatic, but let's just see what that would take us. 37%. I mean, to be fair, that would that would be pretty bad. But that was also in the very, very beginning days. Ever since then, the lowest one that we saw for September was a 19% drop, or maybe it was a 22% drop, which still, that would take us around 20K from here. It would take us around 20K from here. But most of the time, 9 out of 13 times for September, we have seen neutral closing months. And how do I define neutral? Not in the traditional sense. A 10% move in a month for most stocks in the world, people would not consider that a neutral month. But for Bitcoin, a less than a 10% month is pretty neutral. I think we can all agree that that's a pretty neutral month. And I would expect that we do get one for September. I do think that we're going to get a very neutral month. I'll flip it back out to the monthly here. I'm going to keep these lines up. I'm just going to mute them for a second. But with a close like this, it would not surprise me if September did break this low here. If we did go lower, the next time I say September, smoke or drink or I don't know, do something silly. But I do think that we go lower than this. but I don't think that we're going to go lower than this low here. And I would think, honestly, we're going to find support somewhere between about 23.1K to 24.3K, somewhere in that range. Probably below 24.3K, probably above 23.1K, probably somewhere in the midst of those. But I don't think that we go too much lower than that. I really would be surprised if we went lower than that. And, that's really all I have to say. And again, that's kind of the range right there. You can see the numbers on these white lines there. The monthly is a little bit concerning on the RSI. I'm not going to lie. The reason it's concerning is because, and I have it on the Bitcoin chart here, but let's go to the Bitcoin index chart. The Coinbase chart. I want to go to the index chart for the all-time history. If we go through the all-time history, you can see that Bitcoin has gone below its 50. Whenever it comes above its 50, it doesn't go below it before getting above or like into this overbought zone, or at least to it. We get below the 50 here, we come back above it, and we don't go back below the 50, do we? We go all the way up to the overbought zone, and then we come back down. We're below the 50, we come above it. We did go below it before getting into the overbought zone, but we at least went up to it. Right? Found resistance in a previous area that we found support just once, but and maybe even arguably twice, somewhat degree. But we at least moved up substantially before getting back below the 50. And when we went below the 50, it was for a very short amount of time. I wonder, actually. It's kind of crazy. No, it's not. Okay, anyway, sorry. I was looking at something different. But here, we went below the 50, we got above the 50, and now we have gone back below the 50 without even showing a strong move on a monthly basis. This is the first time. This is some very weak stuff. Pair that with the fact that Bitcoin's RSI on a monthly basis was the lowest, the weakest that it's ever been in its history. That's not necessarily a good thing. You don't want to see that kind of stuff. Though, to be fair, we do still have, in an area, like if we came down and closed somewhere even lower than we are now, we still have a higher low scenario playing out, right? We do have this low, which is lower than this low over here, and this is a higher low in price overall, so that is hidden bullish divergence on a long-term time frame. If we're looking at this thing, I'm going to go back to the Coinbase chart here, BTC USD, and we go to Coinbase. We're doing all kinds of analysis today, man. Long-term, short-term, month-to-month, whatever. If we take this last cycle's low to the current cycle's high, you can see that, well, I guess we haven't really bounced it. Oh, okay, no, I'm sorry. This is what I wanted to look at. From this top here to this bottom, we've actually found resistance at the 1618, a very common extension to find resistance on, support on the 1272. We came up and we actually found resistance on this 1272. I think it's safe to say that we are showing significance on this fib. You can see that we rejected the 786 to a T, found support on the 0.069 very much to a T. Resistance on the 618 came above it, found support, and then it was off to the races, along with all the significance we've seen over here. Found support on the 886. I think it's safe to say that this fib is showing some respect. And what I know about fibs, you guys, and I know a decent bit, probably more than the average TA in crypto. I don't know the most. I am definitely not the brightest person with fibs, but I know a lot. This is my tool. This is like my tool of focus that I use, and I pay attention to it. I pay attention to patterns, and I've really taken the time to learn this. So when I tell you that it's very common behavior, very, very common behavior to, when you break above your 618 and you bounce off it, it's very likely that you're going to see extensions. That's the thing. And look, we have that exact thing right here. And I say that in a lot of my videos. Okay, this isn't the first time I've said that. When you find a rejection from any of these areas and you come back, what is a very common area to find support on? Generally, almost always, it is the 886. If not, you can find support on the 786, and if not, you better hope you find support on the 618. But it's very common whenever you see continuation in this extension. And by continuation, I mean prices that are going to be higher than this, deeper extensions. By the way, this 2272 is a deeper extension. It's almost at $200,000. This is on a monthly basis, so it takes a lot more time to form. You could see even by 2025, like all the way out here, we might not even be there yet, but likely above $100,000. But the point that I'm trying to make is, when you go from regular extensions back down and find support on the 886, which we did, I almost always find deeper extensions. And by deeper, I don't just mean the 1886. This is a deeper extension, but I mean the twos. Like, we see next level stuff. So we have found resistance on the 1272. It would be nice to get this $32,000 level is very significant. 32,300 roughly is a very significant level. Once we get above that, guys, it is go time. It's go time. That doesn't mean that it's going to be like this, but we are going to stop seeing some of this sideways laggingness, and things are going to get a little bit more exciting. The next time we come up to these areas, it really is going to be go time, and I think we are near there. I just don't think that we're going to go there this month. I do think that we come lower. We probably bounce somewhere in this nothingness of this fib range, you know what I mean? Which is normal. Likely what we do on this more relative fib from low to high, we find support on like the 382, which is around 24.2K, and it's very common also to go just below the 382 and then come back and close above it. Let's see if we have an example over here. You have your 382 here where you did wick below it but then came back up above it, right? You wicked below it here on this month and you closed right at it. You wicked above it this month, closed right below it, or I guess you opened below it, I don't know. Here you found support on it and you were barely below it too, so but more or less you did find support on the 382. It's very common. It's just very common to go a little bit below it. It's also common to bounce right off of these lines, but these lines are not an end-all be-all. I do not treat them like walls made of brick. They're more like ideas, and you can pass through these little ideas, go through them, still hold them relatively, and find significance off of them. But ultimately, guys, back to like the more immediate term stuff, I do think we go down. I think that we are in the midst of going down. It doesn't have to happen now, though we did just experience quite a dramatic day. If it happened now, cool, great, let's get it over with. Let's do this. I do think, and I have been calling for probably the past couple weeks, that I think the first half of September is going to be our bearish time, where we do make this move around 24.3K to 23.1K now. Now I'm saying 23.1K. I've been saying 24.3K, maybe just a little lower, but I'm going to refine it more to 24.3 to 23.1 now that we've looked at the monthly. I feel like that would make sense to me. Somewhere in that range in the first half of September, and then we will spend the second half of September, or at least the last week of it, coming back up. We might spend this week or the next 5 days so going sideways. We might have a flash crash down that ends it that way. Like, I don't know how this drop is going to look, but I do expect that this month of September is not going to be a complete bloodbath. I do expect that we close it somewhat neutral, as we've done 9 out of 13 times, right? We literally did that earlier, 9 out of 13 times. And if we close it red, okay, that would make sense. We've closed most of them red, but we've closed even more than that to the neutral side of a move that was less than 10% to the downside. So I really don't think on a closing basis, we could move more than 10% overall, but I really don't think that we're going to move, let's see, from the current price here, down to about there. That's an 11% move. I really don't think that we move lower than like an 11.24% move, honestly. From the current price, I really don't think we do. But that's not from the open, is it? From the open, that would be, let's see. From the open, that would be like a 10.85% move. So it's a bit of a bold call. That's definitely. I feel like that is a bold call, especially when a lot of TAs that I respect and most people are calling for lower prices. But that's my TA, man. That's what I got for you guys. So if you like the video, if you appreciate it, I appreciate the thumbs up. I appreciate all the views. Thank you guys so much for just all the support and all the day-to-day watchings and viewings and interactions you guys give. It's awesome. Like and subscribe to see more. I appreciate all of you. Have a very good day. Take care. And wake me up when September ends. Adios.